Welcome back to Talos of Space. I am apparently Nick and Sweeney today, so welcome. And let's get into this week's space news. How are you doing, DJ?
Hi. Oh, I am just doing so well. My lights are so cool, and I have this beautiful monitor behind me, and my video quality is just so crispy. I love it. My name's DJ, by the way, if anyone was wondering. Definitely 100% DJ. Although, who am I kidding? I don't have the swagger to pull off DJ. I'm actually Nick.
How have you been, Nick?
Oh boy. I've been really well. Got lots of little moving parts, little projects. Spent about I don't know. I think it added up to about 6 hours today, messing around with some stuff that my cell carrier sent me. Visible sent me like a little party in a box package.
Interesting.
And so I got it all set up on like a board and got lights, and I was like messing around with stuff. So not super productive, I don't think, but I sure had fun.
That's all that matters, right?
Yes. Oh, man. So, in space news, wow, we have not too much to cover. So, this might be a shorter episode, depending on how long I can rant on SLS.
We know that can go forever, too.
Who, me? Never? Hating SLS? Never. I love SLS.
Not at all.
SLS
Not at
is
all.
the best. So, what did we have just a couple short days ago? Starlink 21. Why was that notable?
So, we now have a new Life Leader booster. It's 9 flights, successful. It landed. We didn't have any problems with seagulls this time, thankfully. Yep. Now we have a new Life Leader. It's getting that much closer. To 10. Just one more. So, probably in about 2 months, we'll see it go up again, probably. Maybe a month and a half, because their turnaround times is getting much, much lower.
They sure are, yeah. And it's kind of exciting how boring Life Leader news is, seeing how the jump from 8 to 9 doesn't sound very exciting, but that just means we're one step closer to the big one, the big kahuna. And the question for you is, do you think they will try to do an 11th reflight whenever that time comes, or if they'll give it to museum or retire it or something?
Like I said last week, I really do hope they just give that first 10th flight to a museum. But they're going to go try 11. As soon as they get a 10th flight booster, if they've decided to give one away or not, once that lands for the 10th time, it's on for the 11th. They're going to make it happen fast.
Yeah.
So.
Because it's getting me my internet faster. Please, Elon, faster.
Come on now.
Yeah, so you mentioned shorter turnaround times. What's the new standard? Like, we're getting so fast, and
it's really becoming
how fast these
about
boosters are turned around.
It's like averaging about a month to a month and a half at this point. Because
Wow. It's amazing.
Starlink 22, which is coming up in a couple days, it's only had a 45-day turnaround as of its expected launch date. Of course, ground gremlins might make it a little bit longer, but
ground gremlins never have any of those.
What are those?
Never are those ever an issue on any Starlinks, especially the Starlink mission named Starlink 17. None of those have ever plagued anyone ever in SpaceX. Ground gremlins do not exist.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. Did you see Scott Manley's video on the transmissions today? So
no, I didn't.
Some amateur radio operator actually was able to tune in to the Falcon 9 Stage 2 telemetry live stream. So somehow he was able to decode the video that was coming down from the spacecraft with a little dish that he had and take that pretty unusable garbled frequency, and he kind of reverse engineered some things and was able to pull the actual engineering data out of the stream. So
that is cool.
The way that the production is set up for for any SpaceX launch is the engineering live streams are all given to the production team, and the production people are the ones who are like switching between the different feeds.
Yeah.
But you can't really control where you're looking at because there's only a live stream that gives you one certain perspective cut between different cameras. But this guy was able to get all of the data from all of the engineering cameras for a certain amount of flight time on the second stage. And he got the full run through of the internal stage 2 inside the tank. You've seen that a couple times just for a split second during the live streams. They'll the engineering cameras will cycle over to the is it the O2 tank or the
the O2
I think
tank.
it is the O2 tank. And you'll see it in a pressurized tank, little bubbles of
the sloshing
liquid oxygen, sloshing around in there. But because of this guy's work, we were able to see the active 2Gs and 1D deceleration on the liquid.
I saw that video pop up, but I just I saw it and it just kind of went in one ear out the other type thing, and I just did not think about it until you said it again. I've got to watch that tonight.
Yeah, me neither. It was only because Scott made that 13-minute video. I was just glued to my phone the entire time. I'm like, wow, that's so cool. I didn't know so much about radio broadcast signals. I've done carrier waves, and it's all pretty confusing stuff. But this guy was able to figure it out, which is pretty impressive.
That's nuts. I mean, yeah, I'm definitely going back and watching that as soon as this is over.
I highly recommend. Actually, anyone listening should probably go listen to it because Scott Manley's gonna be way more interesting than we are.
That accent alone just kind of already. Yep. Content doesn't matter. It's just that accent.
If I could get him reading the instructions off of some screwdriver or something, I'd be so fine with that.
How about reading the instructions on your Starlink when you get it?
That might be a little difficult because I'm pretty sure there are only 3 instructions and there aren't any words. But he can read the instructions on the drone trip. Just read the instructions. And then we'll have this space-time continuum paradox where it's Scott Manley talking about the crash that happened next to the just read the instructions as he's reading the instructions. It goes back in time. It's a paradox there. Okay, I think we're down in the weeds here.
Absolutely.
What's happening down in Boca Chica, Texas? Woo!
Not much, unfortunately. So
okay. All right.
Today,
well, this is that light news week we were talking about, huh?
So today, which is Monday the 15th, was supposed to be a static fire day for SN11, but it kind of stopped on startup. So it looked like they were going to recycle and try again, but they just didn't, or other issues. But it's scheduled to try again tomorrow. So either the day before this gets uploaded. So we'll see which one happens.
All dependent on internet speeds, am I right?
Starlink again, we need you.
Please come soon. Yeah, so they were not only trying to do that static fire, but we also saw them test those landing legs, which, as we all know, the problem with SN10 was not the flight software, was not any internal system, it was not the propellant, it was not anything. Well, it was, I guess.
Well, sort of propellant.
There were multiple problems, weren't there? It was the propellant, huh?
Yeah,
Bummer. It was
primarily
propellant. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But I was going to mention the landing legs because those also had a problem. We only got 3 landing legs out of the 6. All right, that was a bad transition. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, there were other problems with SN10. But one of the obvious problems that we all saw at the very beginning was the fact that only 3 of the 6 landing legs actually locked. So it was exciting to see that they were testing those a couple times. Definitely would recommend that.
They went bouncy.
Boing, boing, boing. I love landing on legs that are not completely locked. It's just so smart.
It's like trying to sit on one of those stools where one of the legs is just a little bit shorter, bouncing back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I wonder if all 6 of the landing legs would have deployed properly, if it would have landed with at least minimal issues and not have exploded. So
I think it would have, because Elon said, I believe, it landed at what, 20 kilometers an hour?
It's like 15 meters a second or something like that.
15 meters a second.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, if I remember, I don't remember the unit scale, but I remember 15, and I remember the design limit of those landing legs being about 10. Yeah. So seeing how they were There was half of them were operating, and it was coming down a little faster than expected. I don't know if it would have made it if all of them deployed, but it definitely would have had a better chance at making it if all of them deployed.
Absolutely.
So I think anything that they can do on those landing legs is going to be an improvement. I really still like the idea of having like a full Falcon 9 fold-out legs deployed, because I don't know.
Oh yeah.
To me,
they just look so cool.
It's this huge building. Go ahead. Yeah, right?
I was
just having those things like
cool.
fold out.
But
definitely, I think we have a little bit of FaceTime delay there, so my apologies, everyone. But the landing legs on Starship are so small and teeny, it kind of makes it look like as it's coming down to land, if it's not like a perfectly level, perfectly prepared concrete surface, if there's any angle, they have no the center of mass is going to be. They have a very small target for the center of mass. Anyway, I think those Falcon 9 style landing legs that just fold out, or maybe fold out of the fins or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. There's lots of really cool renders and really cool ideas, but having something that has a wider stance will really help. Now, maybe it's not going to help so much with absorbing the shock, but at the very least, getting to the moon, getting to Mars sooner will be easier when you don't have to be so picky about your landing site.
Yeah, I definitely think using those larger legs would be more advantageous, especially like they originally kind of wanted to do something like that. I mean, it was with whenever they were still doing the tri-fin design, but even then, I mean, I think that would have worked really well. Might not have had shock absorption like what they're trying to do now as well, or it would not have done shock absorption as well, but they still had a wider stance than the current landing legs. So
yeah,
anything's better than toothpicks.
The size of those landing legs is just so out of perspective because we can't see it in perfect scale, but those landing legs are huge. They just don't look huge in comparison to the huge building that's landing at 15 meters a second.
It's like take a dresser, and that's probably about the size of these landing legs, maybe a little bit smaller than the dresser, but just put that dresser up beside a 20-story building or something like that. It's minuscule.
It looks pretty puny. So what was the actual issue that Elon finally told us on Twitter just a couple days after we finished recording the last episode?
Of course it was after we recorded the last one. Go figure. But it seems their problem that they had on, was it SN8 with autogenous pressurization, they swapped over to helium pressurization for it to mitigate that problem. But it turns out some helium bubbles were in the mixture and kind of got sucked into the engine. So whenever that happened, it started just eating itself from the inside. Which, of course, raptors love to eat themselves. We've seen that many a times. But what kind of happened, he said, the baffles that are in the tanks were acting almost like straws for the bubbles to be pulled down.
Interesting.
That was the primary reason we had a really rough landing for that SN10 flight. So right now we don't know. I mean, we're pretty sure it's staying helium pressurized for SN11, but I assume with SN15, whenever they finally get that monster up and going, that is going to be back to autogenous pressurization. So
I would completely agree with that. So it brings a good point. What are the changes we're expecting on SN17 or 15? So many things have changed since.
I really don't know.
Like the first set of starships and this next generation.
I think we're gonna at least have Gen 2 legs, so better than the toothpicks that we have now. Back to autogenous. I would assume probably better overall plumbing and stuff like that. Maybe clean up all the outside of the vehicle some. I don't know. He really hasn't said much. Oh, and also the
new tank design, right?
Well, the thickness of the stainless steel. I think that's when it actually is going down.
7.3s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking at for SN15. Oh, now I remember something that we didn't put on the dock. Have you seen that he said they might just try to catch it with the launch tower?
Yes, I saw that, and I was. I've heard Elon say some crazy things.
This might
Let's
be
just
up
say
there.
I'm adding this to the list of the things, crazy things Elon has said.
This one's pretty far up there.
It's could be possible, seeing how SpaceX literally figured out how to land a 200 and something foot building sized piece of spacecraft, on a drone ship in the middle of the ocean in the middle of nowhere by itself,
Yeah.
with a suicide burn. I think it makes the most sense with the booster, the BFR booster, because it can hover, basically. Falcon 9 can't hover because the lowest throttle point on one Merlin engine is greater than, gives more delta V than the mass of the ship at landing.
Yeah.
So it's it can't really hover, but the larger booster definitely can hover for SpaceX, but I don't know if the Starship can hover.
Well, it will be able to
you
hover
know.
whenever all the engines are on there.
Okay.
There will be enough weight on it that it's gonna the
Okay,
minimum
true,
throttle that they
true.
can do
Okay.
is actually negative negative or
Okay, good.
in comparison. So yeah, it'll drop and then they can ramp up to hover. So yeah, that
Interesting.
hover will be possible.
Well, if they can hover, I mean, we did literally just see SpaceX figure out how to belly flop a Starship and land it in one piece and then have it go boom. So I'm not going to say it's completely impossible, but it would be a lot of engineering work.
Yeah.
And I can see why it would be more simple, though. For the same reason why we don't have, at the Tesla charging stations, we don't have those snake charging thingies
Yeah.
that like find your charge port and like plug it in for you. It's just a little more simple on the engineering side to have like more simplified hardware, and for the rocket itself, and more complex on the ground systems. But it's like, okay, that's fine if you want to do that on the Earth to Earth ships where they can, land on a huge tower and gantry system and stuff. But like, what are they going to do on the moon? What are they going to do on Mars?
I think that's
I-
probably going
I
to be
don't know.
one reason why they're not going to do it. Because I don't think they're going to do this catching it thing at all. Because yeah, I mean, you got to plan it out anyways for Mars and Moon. So,
Yeah.
but it's
And
Elon. He does crazy
seems-
stuff all
seems-
the time. So
It is true, but he's also equally the guy who flips on his crazy ideas and goes on to another crazy idea sooner than you can blink. So it might be changing up sooner than we think.
I mean, we've seen how many times
Um,
Starship has changed from 2016 to now. So
yeah, you think? Yeah, it's been crazy. Isn't there a Dear Moon? Wasn't there a Dear Moon update
oh yeah,
a couple days ago?
I
We didn't
I
even put that on the list.
Yeah, we didn't.
Wow, we're finding all these fun topics.
So, I think the Dear Moon selection has been started because the entry window was
Okay.
closed off, I think, yesterday. I'm pretty sure, something like that. They're now in selection process, I believe. So, don't know when they'll announce anything, but
Well, I know. Yeah, that's. We'll see. We'll see.
we're prepared
It'll-
for this
it'll
show,
happen,
can't you
maybe.
tell?
Yeah, I know. I'm just sitting here like, oh boy, we did not. We should move on to the stuff we did prepare for. How about that?
let's do
What is
that.
happening on the NASA side this week, DJ? There's lots of stuff happening over there.
So we had the 5th spacewalk this year happen, and that was Mike Hopkins and Victor Glover. So they've had a few more spacewalks under their belt prior to this one, and this was mainly a maintenance spacewalk. So there was a few new things that they did. They installed some cables or routed some cables for some new HD cameras on the outside of the space station. So, but it was primarily just let's fix up the space station because it's 20 plus years old at this point.
Falling apart.
It's like that old beater
It's
car that you
testament to the
love but you
engineers who
can't get
designed
rid
that
of.
thing.
Yeah, you're right about that. You're right about that.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't get rid of that. I kind of wonder why on earth they haven't done this sooner, because I'm so sick and tired of watching those NASA live streams at like 420p or whatever those things are. It's like the just standard definition.
It's like you're getting a beautiful view but it's like you're watching it on an old Game Boy
Uh-huh.
Advance or something like that with that camera.
Exactly. You're seeing the most beautiful thing in the universe, humans in space permanently as their home for the amount of time. But we see it through a potato, and it's just kind of sad to have that be the case. And so I'm excited to see any upgrades they can do to the camera system on the ISS, because that's one of the main missions of the ISS. I think a lot of people think, oh, it's science, 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 and it is. It's definitely an orbiting laboratory. But one of the biggest things that the space station has done is just provide that human touch to space, that human scale. Being able to look up and know that there are, we have 9 astronauts on station right now.
Yes.
No, 8?
7.
7.
I think it's 7. Cause,
but then we're going to have the Soyuz. I was like,
Yeah.
how did we get to 9? We were at 9 once. And the Soyuz. Okay, yeah, so there's definitely that human element that is just so important that the space station is able to provide, but that's fundamentally limited to the camera systems that they have up there.
Yeah.
And as an audio video camera guy, I always love good camera qualities, and I appreciate anyone who puts effort into setting up a good video. A lot of times with the pictures that we've seen, there are a lot of hot pixels on those cameras that they have up there, especially for the live stream cameras that are just outside all the time. Like, even though it's at 480p, you still notice like all these like hot pixels.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my gosh.
They've been up there for
this is
probably over
quality.
a decade for most of these cameras at this point, and it's like
Totally.
you're getting hit by cosmic
Totally.
rays. Even though it's still within the Earth's radiation protection,
belts.
it's still you're still gonna get hit every now and then with stuff. So it's just killing pixels slowly.
And I'm not sorry, I wasn't criticizing the quality of those cameras.
No.
It was great cameras at the time. I'm just saying they haven't been refreshed in a decade, and it's kind of showing.
Hopefully by the time they get the new cameras on the space station, they'll finally have NASA streams upgraded from 720p.
Well, if they upgrade to 1080, then I'm not going to have to watch Tomorrow Space's all of their live stream stuff. They've been doing 1080 longer than NASA has.
I really wonder how they got the hookups to be able to get all those feeds for Tomorrow. Who do you know?
Their studio is lit.
Oh man.
That will give you the higher quality stream than what's going on. So that's not the only thing happening around the ISS currently and in the near future. We have a whole nother crew mission going up in about a month at this point. The time of year listing this will be about a month plus or minus a couple days. The current targeted launch date is April 22nd, 2021. Which is just 2 days after the ill-fated 420 day, which unfortunately no NASA project is ever going to want to launch anything on 420 day. Elon might do something on 420 day. We'll have to see.
Watch it be the first human flight of Starship be on 420.
It's just Elon up there in a cowboy hat and a joint.
He's sitting on
Light it up!
He's sitting on the high bay just watching it.
All chilled. That would be kind of funny. Man. Yeah. So that's going up. We're getting Crew 2, which is who's going to be on that one?
So we have Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur, which is the spacecraft commander and pilot, respectively. And those two are, of course, NASA astronauts. And then we have JAXA astronaut Akihiko Hoshide and ESA's astronaut Tomas Pisquet. I don't know how to say his last name, but those two are the mission specialists for this one. So 2 NASA, 1 JAXA, and 1 ESA. So we got the whole array almost.
Got the usual suspects going up. Can't wait.
Yep.
Now they're up for a 6-month mission, right?
Yeah.
I think that's Exploration 65, right?
I can't really keep up because it switches the numbers whenever another crew comes up, so it's like always hopping.
This is true. Yeah, I think we're on 64.
Yeah, so this might be 65, 66 is what this one will be, I believe, if I got that correct.
Okay, somewhere in there.
But we also have something else that's fairly new news. There is going to be a NASA astronaut on a Soyuz again. So,
Wait, what?
yeah.
DJ, I thought we finished that.
You know,
The whole like Demo 1 and Crew 1 missions were all about not having to get in those ugly old Soyuzes from the 50s.
I thought so too, but hey, it's what NASA likes to call dissimilar redundancy. So this is a very last minute decision. Back in February, they got astronauts. Where is his name? I saw it earlier. Here it is. It's Mark Vindee, I think. It's
Okay.
whenever they secured it back in February. They had basically a 2-month time from when they secured it to when it's going to launch. But they announced it last week. Basically, just a 1-month window on that. It's a very last minute seat. But this comes in to play with like all the ground gremlins that everybody's been having lately.
Mm-hmm.
So the primary reason for this, I believe, is just to have an American astronaut in space on the space station, no matter what vehicle they're taking up. So if Crew 2 were to have some issues and couldn't go up, and it was no American up there, that would be the first time in a very long time that an American astronaut has not been on the space station. So it looks...
Yeah, and I don't think that record... Go ahead.
I was saying it looks like this is going to be scheduled for April 9th. So about 3 weeks away at this point.
So I definitely think that record should be preserved at most costs, but $90 million, really? Because that's what a Soyuz seat cost last time. I believe it was Kate. Was it Kate Rubins? Yeah, Kate Rubins was the last one to fly up on a Soyuz, and that was expected to be the last one. But this last minute seat, just like last minute plane tickets, are typically a little bit more expensive. I'd be curious to hear eventually, whenever the price does come out, to see how much NASA had to cough up for this seat.
I mean, if it was spare already, they might not have charged more. But, it's Russia.
Maybe.
It might want to just pad the pockets.
We'll see. Bet the buckets, comrade. So Kate Rubins, though, I would have to say, though, a smarter idea to still hold that record and not have to really worry about it. You know, who was that last cosmonaut the Soviet Union cosmonaut who stuck up in Mir for like over a year and a half?
Ooh.
Because as the Soviet Union was crumbling, the last cosmonaut who was up there, as the Soviet Union crumbled, was stuck up there for like
I remember
a year
that
or so.
story, but
Yeah.
I don't remember the name. It's been a while since I watched anything on that.
Anyway, all that to say, astronauts have done daring feats of long duration stays to be able to maintain their country's presence in space, and so there's if say Crew 2 did have a set of ground gremlins that even delayed it, a couple weeks or month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever, they just wouldn't let Kathleen go home until after. Right?
Yeah, I mean, for the safety aspect, I don't think they would leave anybody up there just for the safety reasons alone. So, I mean, if they had to
not alone, she'd be up with the Russians.
Well, yeah, but at that point, okay, yeah. But at that point, though, they're going home soon too, aren't they?
Yeah. So, in my proposition, she just wouldn't return home on that Soyuz that the other two are going to be returning on, and she'll return back on the seat that was coming up. If that makes sense, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not making much sense. Obviously, they've already decided to.
This is why we're not the calendar
$90+ million
planners for NASA.
Again. What? I would do such a good job with calendar planning. Honestly, I am an amazing calendarer, plannerer, and I would never create any traffic jams at the ISS because I am so good at calendarer planning. Unfortunately, the actual calendar planners haven't done such a hot job because we have a traffic jam in space.
That was a great segue.
Thank you. I was working hard on that one.
So tell us about this one a little bit.
Now that you pointed it out, though, it's not as good. Yeah. So, unfortunately, the space station has a lot of visitors right now, which sounds like something that isn't a bad thing, but it kind of is for all the poor people at Boeing. Boeing, with their Starliner project, was finally ready to do another test run to the ISS with their orbital flight test 2,
OF2.
OFT2, and yeah, I think it was
OFT2. Yeah,
OFT2 is the one I'm looking at. Anyway, whatever. They were working towards a April 2nd launch target for a long time, and unfortunately, higher ups at NASA figured out, as they were trying to fit all of the little spacecraft onto their model of the ISS and on the desk in the NASA administrator's office. He's like, there's not going to be room for Starliner on April 2nd. And so, unfortunately, Starliner's OTF2 mission cannot happen until the traffic at the ISS is less dense, which is kind of funny.
I mean, this is going to be delayed by at earliest May. Most likely, we're probably going to see it go in June or July at this point. Because, Boeing, I mean, nothing's ever on schedule for them. And then whenever they do get something about timed right, it's not going to go on schedule just because they're unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah, they invent reasons to be late. So, bravo, Boeing company, yet again, not doing super hot with the commercial crew. I'm very glad that they had this similar redundancy on the commercial program and gave money to both Boeing and SpaceX, even though SpaceX's program cost like half as much and was done on time. And unlike Boeing, which cost more and is still not having its first demo mission.
It's going to be like nearly 2 years later.
Right. Oh boy. Remember for like a little while after the Dragon 2 or Crew Dragon pad abort botch, we were all like, Starliner's gonna beat SpaceX, and like all the way up until that first test of the Starliner, everyone was like, SpaceX is not gonna win. Starliner's so much further ahead. And then they got up there and they're like, we don't know what time it is.
Oops.
Poor people over there at Boeing. No, I'm playing fun for any of you people who are big fans of Starliner or maybe working on that program. Y'all get your stuff together. It just take time and keep on keeping on step by step ferociously. So, anything else on the traffic jam that we got up there?
Other than there's a lot of flights going up and they're staying up there for a while, I really don't think so. Boeing's just gonna have to sit there and wait a little bit while they make us wait for something else.
Well, you know what else is also going to have... You know what else also going to have to sit there and wait a little bit? SLS! Because SLS sucks! And we're going to launch into that rant now, folks. It's that time of the show where Nick rants about SLS being absolutely terrible.
30 some odd minutes in and it's finally time.
Guys, I'm worried about the Cybertruck. Also, I hate SLS. So SLS, the Space Launch System, the system that's supposed to be launching people into space, has yet to leave the ground. It's only been like a decade, but this system, which is supposed to launch people to space with flight-proven hardware, aka reused space shuttle parts, which was supposed to be so much cheaper and so much easier, and no.
Oh man.
SLS had that problem with their Green Run a while ago, where they're doing the full ground test, basically what SpaceX calls a static fire, where they load up the tank to full pressurization, run the engines through the entire sequence, and make sure that everything works. I believe that was supposed to be 9 minutes, and it shut down like a minute and a half in. Yeah, and it shut down early, and they were like, oh no, we have to do it again in a couple months. And it's just like SLS moves so slowly, it's painful to watch. So big news. The big news for SLS this week was that they might have a Green Run again in a couple weeks.
So it's like, looking like it's going to come up and happen.
That's your big news? Maybe. We'll see. I just love the dichotomy where SpaceX does static fires just in their sleep, and they don't really have to plan out or make a press release. SpaceX Incorporated is static firing SN11 in Boca Chica in 2 minutes. And SLS is over here making big press announcements. It's going around in the news cycle. SLS is going to have another green run.
It's
and I'm
just like,
guys,
come on,
this
do it
sucks.
already. It doesn't take this long, or does it?
Yeah, I am glad it doesn't go boom. I'm glad it has not gone boom. If it goes boom, that's a huge waste. But it's just painful to watch things move at government speeds, which is not very fast. Anyway, SLS sucks.
There's the start of the rant. Now shall we get to what it actually is doing?
Yes, what is it actually doing?
Oh, man. So it's going to attempt another 8-minute static fire, I believe. And they have set a new successful time limit, which I believe is a 2-minute duration or 4-minute duration. But of course, last time, whenever it failed, it was because they were starting to do the gimbaling movements and trying some of that stuff, and then it just shut itself down. But of course, this is happening at Stennis Space Center in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, my home state. Also, the area I like to call the yeet of the beaches, because it's just down there on the Mississippi coast. But yeah, it's on the B2 test stand. And tomorrow on March 16th, as we're recording this, they will start the power-up sequences for the static fire. So it's not static firing on March 16th, but it's starting up, and it's going to take them 2 days. Not necessarily, but it starts the countdown clock. But it just shows you the difference between SpaceX, where they're like, oh, we scrubbed this because we started it up and it didn't want to go. It had too much pressure. Let's just scrub this launch scrub it and then recycle and do it in a couple more hours. Whereas it takes Boeing, what is almost like 6 months at this point.
Yeah, no, and SLS is just a behemoth of subcontractors. So I'm sorry to anyone who's working on the SLS project and has to coordinate all this stuff, because you got 80,000 suppliers from 100 million different companies all going into $4 billion launch. That's just insane. Yeah. And it's just, it's all dumb. All of SLS should be burnt to the ground. Or go boom. I wouldn't mind. I mean, it would be a fun show. But it would also be probably the most expensive boom in U.S. history.
So there's a graphic on the article that I was looking at from NASA.gov. It's 700,000 gallons of fuel that they're going to be burning in this 8-minute test. That is a lot. Like I imagine 700,000 milk jugs.
But what is
just sitting in a big old parking lot? That's a lot.
I don't think my feeble brain can calculate 700,000 of anything. $700,000, I can calculate that.
Me and you could spend that in about 5 minutes.
Oh, believe me, my B&H cart is already full. If Mr. Beast ever gives me his credit card and says, you have 5 minutes to spend $1 million, I'm like, oh, yeah, no
done.
problem. 10 items later, I'm done. Could probably even do it in 5 if I tried. Get a couple anamorphics. Anyway, anything else on SLS before I turn blue?
You know what? I just kind of want to see you turn blue, so just kind of keep going on with SLS as long as you can.
Why is it so terrible?
Okay, I think that's it.
I think I turned red, not blue. Now I need to cough.
Oh my. Oh.
I hurt my vocal cords there, everybody. I hope you appreciated that. I have dedication to this podcast.
I was not expecting that, so I'll say that was impressive. Oh, man. But
not only Am I an amazing cinematographer? I'm also a good actor.
Absolutely. Just, you want to toot your own horn a little bit more?
Yep.
Oh, man.
I would drop that topic sooner than later. I would want to drop that topic sooner than later, but I think we should mention that something else has been dropped on the surface of Mars. Something dropped. It wasn't the mic and it wasn't the beat, but there was a laser show.
Tell me more about that one.
Transitions 101, folks. All right, so Perseverance, that little lovely rover that we all just love to love, had that beautiful, gorgeous landing that we didn't get to listen to, but we got to see post, and just had that beautiful hype in the media, and everyone was all excited. What was missing? The laser show. So Perseverance got out its LiDAR sensors and all of its laser stuff, and started messing around with calibrating its lasers. I honestly am not smart enough to know what those lasers are doing or what they'll be doing in the future, but they turn on the lasers, so there's a laser show up on Mars. Also, Percy dropped off its what do they call it, the belly. Oh boy, I had the belly pan. Where, oh boy, I had it pulled up and now I don't have it pulled up. Belly pan, I think, maybe. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Mars. Yeah. There it is. Drops off its belly pan on its ejectable belly pan. Ejectable belly pan. Basically, it was the cover that was covering up the sample arm. There's that little secondary robotic arm on the underside of the rover that allows it to manipulate samples in that undercarriage space. And so it was a protective plate that was sitting on top of, I guess, underneath that, protecting it from the ground. And they went ahead and ejected that so they could begin testing and making sure that the sample manipulation system works and the sampling systems are online. And it seems to be all is good from the @Percy Twitter account. People are saying that it's good, and Percy has a Twitter account. Did you guys know that? Twitterverse? There's an actual Twitter account for Perseverance. I love that.
I mean, it's so simple, but it's just like, it's fun. Just tweeting out as if it's actually talking. That's cool.
Yeah. No,
I love it.
It's a sentient robot on the surface of Mars tweeting. No, it's actually a person in the marketing department at NASA JPL who's sending tweets out just as if they were from Percy.
I would love to imagine it's just like everybody that works, everybody, like all the big guys that worked on Percy, just like all have it on their own phones, and they just tweet out random things at Percy. That'd be funny.
That would be. Unfortunately, there's probably some marketing social media company that is contracting with JPL. Anywho. So, yeah, Percy dropped something off and had a little laser show.
Let's see. I want to see. I had something pulled up about that.
And that concludes all of the interesting things basically that we
had. I was just saying, I had something pulled up about what the lasers were actually doing earlier, but I cannot seem to find it right now. Of course. Oh. Hey.
I didn't do any research into that, so.
Oh, well.
Hey. Well, we said at the beginning of the show this was going to be a short one, so anyone who's expecting a full hour-long show can reference the beginning where I said there's not much news, because there really wasn't. We didn't have anything.
We tried our best,
but we found something to talk about for 40 minutes.
Yep.
Regular content, people. Regular content. All right. Well, you did the intro, so I'm going to do the outro. Is that all right?
Sounds good with me.
Welcome back to the Talos of Space podcast. My name is Nick. That was DJ. That was all just the pre-show. This is the actual show now. We're having a real show. I am starting it. DJ's not starting it. And today, I'm not going to be joined by DJ because he is a terrible human being who kicked me off the show. So we're no. All right. I think that's just me filling blank time here, guys. Thanks so much for joining, DJ. Always a pleasure to chat with you. And I will see you guys in the stars.